Welcome back, folks, to another live episode of Charm City Heavyweights Podcast. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me, as always, my co-host, Josh Merrill. What's going on, Josh?
So Matt coming live from the man cave.
Before we get started, this show is brought to you by Grade 8 Sports Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland. We have a very special guest tonight who was gracious enough to reschedule after
I'm nervous. I'm nervous as all get out, and thank you to Mike. I just told him backstage, thank you. He rescheduled. He didn't have to do that. That was beyond nice.
We have Orioles Hall of Famer and the baseball warehouse ambassador himself, Mr. Mike Bordick. How's it going, Mike?
Really good, guys. Thanks a lot
There
for
he
having
is.
me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you on the show, Mike. We are huge fans of yours. We were growing up in our formative teenage years while you were holding down shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles.
Awesome, man. Good times back then. Good times.
It was some very good times. So, what are you up to these days, man? You are a busy man these days.
Yeah, I got a lot of good stuff going on. Today was pretty busy because I went down to Prince George's County with the president of the League of Dreams. It's a nonprofit I'm involved with, and we're getting started up down there, trying to expand a little bit, some great opportunities. Got a great partnership that we're working with. So give more kids with special needs opportunities to play baseball and softball. We're also doing soccer. We started a swim program. So the League of Dreams is doing a lot of great things. And from there, I went and watched one of my sons play baseball. He's a sophomore over at Boys Latin, and they're fighting to try to make it into the playoffs. So I'm having a great time. If I'm not watching my kids play baseball, I'm trying to help out with my nonprofit. A lot of other things, maybe give lessons with the baseball warehouse, and a startup company I'm involved with too. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's called Alloy Sports. It's a research-based company to kind of help enhance your bet if you're into gambling. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. You were stretched pretty thin there, Mike. On top of your duties,
it's good to stay busy, man. I'll tell you that. It keeps me out of trouble,
On top of your duties at the Fan with Baseball Tonight.
Yeah, I got that too, and I love it because it's the Baseball Tonight show is awesome. Bob Haney's a legend, but great partners this year with Jim Hunter and Ryan Ripken. But it's even better talking about the Orioles because they're playing so well. So many great young players to talk about. Some guys really coming into their own at the major league level. Mateo is my favorite player. I love watching him defensively, and it's nice to see him really contribute with the bat. So, yeah, love working for 105.7 The Fan, too.
Hey, you're definitely not holding in your shortstop bias at all.
Listen, man, that guy got cheated out of a Gold Glove last year. There was not a better defensive player in the game. I mean, he is a super freak athlete on the field. So much fun to watch. I really enjoy it.
Mike, do you think he's like a plan wrecker? Because now that his knock was always he can't swing the bat, but now he's swinging the bat well. So it's like now, does he change plans, you think?
Boy, that's a good question. I'll tell you one thing it's doing. It's bringing more attention. I think the Orioles have had a lot of attention on them as it is because they have a nice stockpile of talent. So there are teams around the league that need some help right now with some players. Even though it's early in the season, first team that pops in my mind is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They got Mookie Betts as their shortstop. Are you kidding me? You don't think they're calling the Orioles about some of their young infielders or maybe even Mateo? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in teams. I know the Orioles, of course, have their sights set on the postseason, but I'm sure they're being contacted by a number of teams about the amount of position players and thump they have in the minor leagues, but even at the major league level as well.
That would hurt, but I would completely understand if they traded him. But, man, that would hurt. That would be tough, man.
No, I agree. But I tell you what, they'd get a lot in return. They really would.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, like I say, like you said, he's swinging the bat well. Now he's a complete player.
No, for sure. And I think what's going to be really interesting, for all us Oriole fans who have been patient through the rebuild and the, 100-plus losing seasons, and now to finally see some of these younger players get their opportunities at the major league level, still have a good group of I guess, so-called veteran players, Santander, Mullins, Hayes now. I guess you could consider maybe a veteran player, been around for a couple years, but they're still able to kind of control some players. But how are they going to stay sustainable with a payroll that I don't think want to bust the bank and try to compete with the Yankees or the Red Sox? So they're going to have to work deals. They're going to have foresight. And I think the Tampa Rays are one of those great models to try to emulate, I guess, in our division, because they continue to have incredible success and they're off to a great start too.
Yeah, Mike, do you think it's possible they could keep some of these guys? I know they're not going to be able to keep all of them. Gunnar, Adley, names are leaving my head, but there's guys. Do you think we can keep some of them?
It's going to be tough because I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of us have been talking about locking Adley up. Why not give him a 10-year deal if you
I'm
can
one
get
of them
on the cheap, right? But then you're
Right.
going to have to pay Gunnar Henderson. Then you're going to have to pay John Means when he comes back as a free agent, and some of these younger pitchers. So you just got to play that game. And I think the ultimate goal here in Baltimore is to have sustainable potential championship teams. And with the stockpile of talent now, that will afford opportunities to maybe trade and get a frontline pitcher, because there's no way you're going to be able to go out and spend for a pitcher. Pitchers nowadays are making $50 million a year, so especially if it's a frontline guy. And I don't know that the Orioles are ever going to be able to afford that. And I don't know many organizations that can. So they got to find a way to really manipulate and work the system. And like I said, have a little foresight, have some of these guys under control, but then trade for these incredible arms. I mean, they're working magic right now, if you ask me. Some of the arms they've gotten off the scrap heap and built one of the best bullpens in all of baseball is amazing to me. I mean, most of these guys were let go or forgot about by other teams, and
they're
they take a
misfits.
chance. And next thing you know, they're the top 5 in bullpen ERA.
Yeah, Canu is just pitching out of his mind right now.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? He tied the record today, 24 consecutive in a row before he
not giving up a hit. That's insane.
I know. It's really amazing. It truly is.
Speaking of the bullpen, Mike, Josh, I wanted to build off this. I hope you don't mind. We got a problem on our hands. It seems like I was listening to the guys at the Fan earlier today on the way home. Dylan Tate and Michael Gibbons are due back any day. It seems like, and it's like almost like, what arms do you send down? Because the guys that have options are pitching it very well. And the guys that are pitching well but not as well don't have options, so you risk losing them. So do you kill the confidence of the guys with the options, or what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's a tough situation. No, I totally agree. And listen, that's the kind of stuff that why the general managers make so much money. But you want to try to keep guys, retain guys. Even if Cano has gotten off to an incredible start, and I know, how can we possibly even think about sending him out, but shoot, you don't want to. Tate had a great year last year. Michael Gibbons is a proven veteran. You'd love to have him in the mix. The problem is they're both right-handed pitchers, you know what I mean? So you might have to give up one of those right-handed arms, and they may be willing to sacrifice somebody that is out of options and take a chance there and see if they can't bring him back. But right now, everybody, I think, on the Orioles roster has increased their value incredibly. So now teams, as soon as one of our guys goes on the waiver wire, it used to be, and it wasn't even just 2 years ago, when you put an Oriole player on the waiver wire, everybody's like, no, we don't want that guy. Let him go. And the Orioles would bring him right back, sign him to AAA, right? And the next thing you know, they get better and better. Now I think if you put any one of the Oriole guys out there on waiver wire, he's going to get grabbed up. So Orioles have kind of played themselves into this position. It's great to have a stockpile of talent, but now it's how do you retain them, and how do you kind of work through all these problems, because there are great players right now down in AAA, and there are young players in Single A, making their move. So they're really putting the heat on the major league roster. So it's kind of a fun situation to be in. It makes your organization compete within itself, which in and of itself, I think, bodes well for success. So a lot of positive things, I guess, going in the right direction.
Because the name that they floated around today was Cionel Perez. as potentially one of the guys.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They said that he has an option, and they said that it seems like he's struggling the most in the pen right now. And the thing is, the guy throws almost triple digits, and but if he can work
filthy.
it out,
and he's left-handed. That's the thing, man. What are you gonna have, a stockpile of right-handers out there? I mean, you got to eventually match up and try to shut down some of these, left-handed hitters. And I know Colom's doing a great job, but my gosh, you can't keep calling on him every night. Going to wear him out. So there's got to be a balance there. I think ideally you'd like to have half and half out there in the bullpen, but geez, losing another lefty out of that.
We're going to have to add some lefties at some point. Am I right?
Yeah,
one or
absolutely.
two lefties are going to need to be added here soon.
Definitely. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. No doubt.
Have they said anything about the Hayes injury?
I thought it was more just a bruise.
It was just a bruise. Okay.
But, anytime you're dealing with a hand kind of bruise, you get fluid in your hand and there's so many bones in there. It's kind of same as the feet. It can cause a problem. It can set you back. And, you want to be a good hitter, and you got to have your hands working for you, 100%. So they might give him a few more days, I would think. At least try to get swelling out of there and make sure he can move his hand okay.
Mike, are you surprised how much Adley's caught so far this year?
I don't know that he's caught as many games as
games played.
Yeah, he's played every day. And I was surprised. I thought today would be a nice day for him to have off. And not that Adley's struggling at all. He's a young guy. He's a strong kid. I think they have had some rainouts in there. They've had some scheduled off days. So, but I still think too, young players need some mental breaks. Every player really needs mental breaks in the game. Just try to pull away, maybe watch your peers out there. You might be able to pick something up a little bit, but I guess I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't had a full day, just to kind of sit back and take a deep breath. Maybe they're waiting for one of these, give him an off day with an off day on the end, so we can have 2 full off days. But right now he's performing very well. If you ask me, one of the best defensive catchers in the game already. I mean, he's a blocking machine. His pitch is
ridiculous.
Any ball that's in the dirt, he's getting that body in front of it, killing it right there at the plate.
He's amazing, and the way he hits the ball, he has the best eye I've ever seen. Like, he sees balls and strikes. He sees the ball so well. It's just like I've never seen anything like it.
He had 2 more walks today. He's got over 20 walks. It's unbelievable.
He gets and the umpires know he has he gets the benefit of the doubt all the time because they know he sees the ball well.
Yeah, no, he's got a great game plan, and what's even more impressive is that he's got that great eye from both sides of the plate. So he's got incredible patience. He understands baseball situations. He knows when to pull the trigger, when to be aggressive. Like today, he understood that Blyer was basically trying to pitch around him. He had runners at second and third. There was an open base. Blyer almost hit him twice, sneaks a little fastball in on a 3-0 count. And Adley wasn't swinging at all. Next pitch was backed up and in. So he wasn't over aggressive, shows great poise, great patience by a young hitter.
Mike, I wanted to kind of circle back to Austin Hayes. Josh and I have talked about Austin a lot in our baseball coverage so far this year, and even in the spring training and before the season started. We kind of thought that he was potentially the odd man out in terms of the prospects coming up. You have Heston, Kerstedt, and Colton Cowles are knocking on the door. McKenna's knocking on the door. Stowers is there as well. And plus you still have Mullins in center field, and you got Santander, and he's not a long-term project at right field. He's probably a trade piece. We thought Hayes would be a trade piece as well. Do you see Hayes with his resurgence of sorts possibly throwing a wrench into their long-term outfield plans?
Well, I think the more Austin Hayes can do, I know he wants to be a lifetime Oriole. I think anybody that comes up in the Oriole organization, plays at Camden Yards, wants to be there their whole life. But I'll tell you what, if he can stay healthy and put up good numbers, I've always thought that he should be a 2020 guy at least. I think he's got that kind of power. Now, he still hasn't really figured out surprisingly had to steal bases at the major league level, but he's got some pretty good speed. He's in the top 10, I think, for outfield arms and arm strength and accuracy. Incredible arm out there. But yeah, I think these guys that are going to start making more money, Mullins, Santander, Hayes is going to be right there as well. They're going to be guys that are going to be looked at as potential trade pieces. And I know I even said Cedric Mullins, historic performance with 30-30 a couple years ago. And I love him. He's a stud defender, but they have so many quality young outfielders, and they're all guys that were brought in under Mike Elias's watch. And this isn't a knock, but, he wants his players up in the big leagues. So I think, there's possibilities of these guys all being trade potential guys, and even like a Ryan Mountcastle.
That's funny you mentioned Ryan Mountcastle. Josh and I had the privilege of interviewing Bruce Cunningham last week, and he said with the way things are looking in the Orioles organization now, granted this is only outside looking in. He covers the team, and you have a different perspective because you played on the team and you cover the team in a more intimate manner. He was saying that I wanted to get your thoughts. He said that he could potentially see Gunnar being the future first baseman.
Well,
with all the infield prospects that we have.
Yeah, but I think Gunnar's one of the more elite, potentially one of the more elite defenders. So I do think that I think in Gunnar's mind, he might want to be a shortstop, like anybody that's ever played shortstop wants to always play shortstop. But I was having a nice conversation with their infield coach down in spring training, and he thought that, Gunnar Henderson's not going to get any smaller. He's a big person. He's a big guy. And if you just said, here, third base is yours for the next 12 years, he thought, and I kind of think this too, that he might be the next great Oriole third baseman, Manny Machado. I'm not saying Brooks Robinson just yet, but he's got those kind of middle of the infield type skills, great hands, power arm. He can play deeper at third base. He's got great athleticism. He runs like a deer. So he moves extremely well. I mean, he's very athletic. Not quite as athletic as Mateo, but I think when he figures third base out and becomes more proficient and understands the angles over there, he could be a great one. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not putting him at first base just yet. I think he has more value on the left side of the field.
Because
I think he's too athletic. Well, I'm not saying first basemen aren't athletic, but he's too athletic, I would say, to put him at first.
It just seemed interesting when he brought that proposition up. I'm a Ryan Mountcastle fan. I love Ryan Mountcastle. I thought that last year when the home run chain came out, the swagger he brought to the dugout, and I just see potential in his bat more so than anything else.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's not a Elias guy, and he's eventually going to want his guys up here. And right now in the minors, they've reported it on the Fan. I believe you were on the Fan that day that they got all their outfielders taking reps at first base.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, they're all left-handed. And that's the thing. So, hey, great idea for the pitching to build the great wall out there in left field, but the right-handed hitter's got no chance, man. I mean, Mountcastle could potentially flip out, 30 to 40 home runs. He's got that kind of power, but that big left wall is kind of taking a few away, and it gets in hitters' heads, So I think they're thinking in their mind more left-handed hitters. They want a left-handed first baseman. They got O'Hearn in there. So I think ultimately that's what the future is, just a stockpile of lefties, take advantage of a shorter porch over in right field.
Mike, were you a guy, did you support the wall? If you were a player, would you have liked it? Or,
I would have never hit a home run.
Yeah.
I would have never hit a home run, I'll tell you that. But, I think from my first day in Camden Yards, the pitchers always complained about pitching at Camden Yards, because, except Scott Erickson, who had that nasty sinker. So he could get a lot of ground ball work. Musina, obviously, Hall of Fame pitcher. He knew how to do it. But what bothers me the most, so Camden Yards, one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful park in all of baseball, if you ask me. And I think moving the wall back It took a little bit away, in my opinion, from the aesthetic of Camden Yards, but you could have saved a lot of money if we would have just kept pushing for change the baseballs back to what they used to be. And I'm not saying change it back to the 1920s, but the 1980s or 1990s baseball was so much softer than these balls they're hitting nowadays. They're still hitting home runs with one hand. Guys are off balance. They're, falling down and the ball's flying 420 feet. If they say they've changed the baseball, I'm calling bullcrap on that. I mean, these balls are so hard. They're just, every home run's over 400 feet, right? So I think they could adjust the baseball and it would have completely changed the whole game. I don't think they had to do all that. I don't think they had to change all these rules or anything, because there wouldn't have been as many home runs. They would have been more situational type baseball. Just the baseball itself, I think, could have made a huge impact on the game, but everybody's so hung up on the home run and people hitting balls 450 feet that they're not willing to change it. That's my opinion anyway.
Mike, what was your biggest adjustment going from the minors to the majors? Like, what was the hardest thing to get used to?
Man, that's a good question. To be honest with you, I felt more comfortable hitting at the major league level. And I know, and I had bad years. I know that. But they were more around the plate. I knew what I was getting on a nightly basis. Then in the minor leagues, man, you say, okay, who's this guy? And he's throwing 95 miles an hour, got a funky release point. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know anybody, and but at the major leagues, the scouting is better. And I just enjoyed, that. Okay, this is what he's got. He's got a, 92 mile an hour fastball. When he's got 2 strikes, he's going to throw a split finger. He likes to get ahead with his curveball, second time through. So just kind of studying the game there, I thought helped me offensively anyway. I don't know. The game's faster, I guess, at the major league level. There aren't as many holes because there are so many great defenders. So I think that's the adjustment. And you just try really every day to make adjustments to survive at the major league level. And it was fun kind of fighting through that for the time that I had.
Oh, I bet. Mike, what was it like coming in to replace Cal at shortstop? I know we talked about it a little bit backstage, but what was that like? I mean, that's got to be – oh, my God.
It was pretty intense, and it was a lot of soul searching, in that off season when Pat Gillick approached us and said, that they'd like me to be the shortstop. We're moving Cal to third base. It's going to happen kind of with or without you, but we think you're the guy that could do it. There were many sleepless nights kind of think about that challenge. And ultimately it came down to a couple things. Cal himself said, you got to do what's best for your family. And I think bringing us back to the East Coast was great. It helped my parents and my wife's parents see our kids. We had a young family just starting. There was more security because we signed a 3-year deal. The Orioles it looked like on the precipice of creating a dynasty. They'd just gone to the playoffs in '96. If not for the catch out in right field, who knows what their career would have been. '97, we were arguably the best team in baseball. But I came from an organization, the Oakland A's, that when I first came up to the big leagues, it was the back end of their dynasty with Oakland. They had gone to the World Series in '88. They won in '89, and we went back to the World Series in 1990. So I got a great taste of success, of a quality organization. We went back to the playoffs in '92, and then La Russa left, new ownership came in, kind of changed the A's around. And I went through a few years of just going, oh my gosh, I need something. I need winning. I need a challenge. And I just didn't feel it there. And I think Pat Gillick, calling me up was just like a godsend. And internally I said, I accept this challenge. So, when I finally overcame my own personal hurdles and took that on, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be honest with you. I mean, because everybody loves Cal Ripken. I love Cal Ripken, everything he's done for the game, but he's a great teammate. He did great things for the Orioles, and to play beside him was intimidating in and of itself, but we played so well that it really kind of helped ease my own internal kind of frustration. I started off really slow, and it was tough, man. And I heard every fan booing me, every fan tell me to go back to Oakland, all that for the first couple months. But then our winning, I mean, we went wire to wire in 97, really kind of took over, and that kind of winning success snowballed. And by midway, I started picking things up a little bit better, playing better defense, and we ended up making it into the postseason. We had a really, really good team. I mean, I was talking with Cal last month. I did an event with him and Brooks Robinson. Cal looked at me and said, that 97 team was one of the best teams I ever played on. And, yeah, me too. I mean, unbelievable group of players on that team.
Not to veer too much off the subject, how do you feel about what's going on with the A's right now?
But it's about time they moved, man. They've been threatening this for 20 years, you know, and it's unfortunate because, man, when I played in Oakland and before the Raiders had come back, the Oakland Coliseum, I know you're not going to believe this, was a beautiful place to play. Open up to the hills, the Oakland Hills were in the background. I think it held 57,000 people. It was a huge bowl coliseum, opened up to the outfield and the mountains. And the A's were great, man. And we used to get big crowds in there. And so in a way it's sad, but in its way it's about time. It's a new beginning because they let that place run down. They really haven't done anything for them. And you know, Oakland's had some success. They really have. They're not that good this year, but they found a way to kind of work the system. And of course, Billy Ball really started the whole analytic push. So there have been a lot of great things that happened out there in Oakland. And I have nothing but great memories. I love my time with Oakland. And I think, though, it's been a long time coming for them to finally get up. Where are they going? Las Vegas, right?
Yes.
So that'll be pretty cool.
I think the funding just got approved, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mike, what is it about, you know, you played for a few different teams, you know, in the pros. What was it about Baltimore? And I know you were in a military family. Your dad was in the Air Force, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it about Maryland that stuck out that, you know, you decided to raise your family and stay here?
Well, fans are great, you know, and I'm not one to go out and hang out with fans all the time. But, you know, just generally when we moved to Baltimore, we moved into a small community in Ruxton, just inside the Beltway. We got to meet families, know families. We kind of became ingrained in the community. The kids started school and have finished school here in Baltimore. So it's mostly, and it always comes down to family with me. And my wife loves it here, so that was big. We tried one year to move back to Maine, where our family was, but that didn't last very long, about 8 months, and we came right back to Baltimore. So, yeah, we've loved it here. You know, like I said, I think the community's been great to us. We love the people. My kids, this is home, you know, and I think you mentioned the Air Force. When you come from, you know, traveling around all the time as a kid, you're always looking for a place to hunker down. And I've always dreamed of that. And this is what it became. So, yeah, Baltimore's our home. We've been here for, I guess 25 years. Holy cow.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I like to say I'm from Baltimore.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Hey, Mike, do you think Brandon Hyde's the manager of the future? Honestly, when we hired him, I thought that's a good manager for now during the rebuild. But now I'm starting to think he's a good manager. I think he gets a good pulse on the bullpen. You know, he gets a good feel, kind of like Buck used to when the pinch hit the right guy at the right time.
Yeah, he's had his challenges, right? You know, last 4 years, and now it's about time he's got some talent to work with. It's kind of funny. When I was going down to spring trainings a few years ago, he was just beside himself for the longing for a catcher that would take charge, somebody that would be a leader back there. I mean, he would push and scream and holler at the catchers that the Orioles would keep siphoning through. Somebody to just please take charge, you know, and no knock on any, if I throw out some names, but, you know, like a guy like Chance Sisco, he just isn't a very vocal kind of guy, but he was a top prospect with the Orioles and had some opportunities with the Orioles, but he was not going to be one to scream at a pitcher or, try to go, get a pitcher going or anything. He just wasn't built like that. And some of the other guys the same way. So for him to have finally Adley Rutschman, right there, he is in heaven. And I think it's helped him relax. I think it's helped him kind of manage the game a little bit better. He's always, talked about building a winning culture, creating, a great winning environment. And I think he's had that opportunity. And I think it's because of Adley Rutschman. When Adley arrived last year, at the beginning of the year, that changed the organization completely. It changed the big leagues because he was finally here, the cornerstone of the future, the foundation really that kind of started Mike Elias's, I think, career. The signing of Adley Rutschman had finally arrived, and everybody in the organization felt that, and he had a huge impact there. Brandon Hyde certainly felt that as well, but the fact that he came up through the minor leagues and now you're seeing all the guys that, he played with Gunnar Henderson. He played with some of these younger guys, these younger pitchers that are now having success here at the major league level. So Adley Rutschman made an impact, on this whole organization. But I think Brandon Hyde is the one that's, feeling the true benefit of it because it's helped him kind of relax and now manage a better brand of baseball.
Oh yeah, I remember when they drafted Adley, man, I was so happy because he was just a guy. He had too much talent. You knew he was going to be, just knew he was going to be a good player.
Absolutely, and it doesn't. I mean, talent's one thing because just about everybody that plays at the major league level has got pretty freaking good talent. They can hit, they can throw, but the character of this young man is incredible. I mean, about his work ethic, about his leadership skills, those kind of intangibles that a lot of guys don't have. A lot of guys are just like me. I was so happy to be in the big leagues. I was so happy to work as hard as I could to stay in the big leagues. But I typically wasn't going to be a guy that was going to scream on somebody, because I just figured, guys are going to take care of their own business, right? So I wasn't a very vocal guy, and there really weren't many. Occasionally, somebody would stand up. When I was a young player with the A's, it was Carney Lansford, a great veteran guy, and he didn't care. All he cared about was winning, and if you weren't pulling your, weight, he would let you know. Now, I don't know that Adley's going to scream on anybody, but Adley's got incredible team-building character where he cares about what he's doing. He wants that pitcher to have success. I love the fact that he meets the pitcher on the first base line.
So cool.
Some people might think it's rah-rah college stuff. I say, bull crap, man. He is invested in every pitch and wants this guy to be as good as he can be. And I just love watching him do his work.
It is incredible to watch. And to kind of chime in on the Brandon Hyde question from Josh, and that's a fantastic question. I talk to Josh about this, amongst us on text messages all the time. I really am glad that Brandon Hyde is getting a chance to see this through, at least for right now, because, like you said, he came into a terrible situation. We were in a complete rebuild. We had just gutted the roster. Adam Jones has been gone for a little bit. Markakis was gone. We traded Machado. We traded Jonathan Scope. We traded all these guys that were fixtures in the organization for years. And then he's literally getting a 4A ball club. And now that he has the talent that, they told us to trust the process. They told us to trust Elias. Look at what Houston did. Look at what he did in Houston where he spearheaded, Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve and all those guys. And they have a couple championships from the guys that he drafted. So now we're starting to see the payoff to the down years. And I know COVID kind of like messed up one of the seasons where it was a shortened season and the minor league guys didn't get a chance to play. But I want to see Hyde see this through. And then if something goes off the rails completely, that's a different story. But he's good for the ball club. And I think that he is the perfect manager because he makes decisions like we all are fond of Buck. He makes some of the similar decisions like Josh said, but he is not the in-your-face hostile after game interview that Buck could tend to be, much like the older managers.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that Hyde is getting the benefit of the doubt.
No, absolutely. I think because he'd been humbled, for the 3, really tough years, 4 tough years, that he appreciates, the opportunity to go out there and manage a lot of great talent. And it's not easy to manage young players and get everybody headed in the right direction. And, he's been able to do that. I agree. I'm glad they're kind of rewarding him with this. And I hope they keep letting him, lead the reins.
Absolutely. And I want you to kind of do a tiebreaker for Josh and I. We had Bruce do it. We're going to ask you the same thing with the Orioles. Josh is steady on the course for the rebuild. In my mind, I think that we're there and that we can be a playoff team, and that, like you said, you alluded to earlier in the show, where we have viable trade pieces. Do you think that this is a year where the record shouldn't really matter as much because of last year, or do you think that this is where we go full tilt and really take some of these prospects and invest in our next couple of years and accelerate to the end of this rebuild to be contenders?
Wow. It's a good question, but I think when you have opportunities to win and make it into the postseason and then take your chances there, I think you've got to go all in, right? I think there are a couple signs, in my opinion. For one of them is the fact that now Tyler Wells can throw as much as he wants. He threw over 100 pitches today. Doesn't seem to have any kind of monitoring on him where they're going to have to shut him down in September. I think we have to be concerned about that with Grayson Rodriguez. And we also have John Means to be concerned about. John Means isn't going to be John Means until next year. The hope is when John Means comes back, he'll just work through and keep trying to get the feel, because when you come back from Tommy John surgery, most pitchers, if not all of them, say, it takes about a year just to get the feel back for your pitches, to feel like, okay, here we go. I feel like myself again. So we have to be patient in that regard too. But knowing that he's in the wings, the Orioles' #1 pitcher, is waiting to come in, and that Tyler Wells now is free go. The chains are off him, unshackled. And I think the same with Bradish, Dean Kramer, Kyle Gibson, the veteran guy. He's going to pitch as long as he can. But Grayson Rodriguez is really the only guy that I think they're concerned with. They may have to hold him back, somehow to keep the innings down, because he hasn't really pitched through a full 162 game season. So that isn't a lot of concern right there. So I think, they should be thinking about the postseason. And I think, if there are opportunities to all of a sudden, as we kind of go through the season, we're going to be able to kind of pinpoint where our weaknesses might be, something that we think might put us over the top to get us deeper into the postseason. And it might be another pitcher, who knows? But I think those opportunities will be there. I think it might be too early today to all of a sudden start making trades and stuff like that. But I think what has to happen is, come the middle of July, we're all going to have a better sense of where our weaknesses are and how we can try to make ourselves better.
Mike, who do you think the odd man out right now in our starting rotation is then? Because there's some guys, knocking at the door.
Yeah. Oh, man. No, there are many weaknesses right now. I mean, I know Bradish had a rough game, the other day, but my gosh, he looked really good the game before. I think, I don't know, really who it would be. Yeah, it really is, because I think they were all pitching well. Last year, Dean Kramer was arguably the best pitcher. Tyler Wells has shown great consistency. Bradish, when he's on, and second half of last season, he was on, and he was ridiculously good. So, he's an incredible force. Gibson, if you ask me, has been the biggest surprise, going 4-0 right now, and just a great
He's
veteran.
A bulldog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
They've really got a stockpile of good things going on right now. So I don't really see any weaknesses right now. Let them run, let them go. And like I said, I think as the season progresses, things tend to kind of weed themselves out. You might find one a little bit stronger or weaker than another. So that's when adjustments might need to be made.
Barring any huge changes to the way that the starting rotation is going, do you see Hyde possibly going to a 6-man rotation to kind of stretch everybody out on some rest and preserve arms for a potential playoff run?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
It's uncommon,
Yeah.
but or kind of like rotate the back end 4 and 5 guys, into long relievers throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, you know what I think happens now? I think they kind of manage a pitcher's workload. They may skip a start or two. They may intentionally, say a guy might have some inflammation and let him miss 2 or 3 starts just so there can be a recovery time, because it ain't easy to go out there and and pitch a full season. I mean, guys just aren't flipping out 200 innings anymore. I mean, you get over 200 innings and you're considered that workhorse guy, right? Not like the good old days where guys are flipping out 300 innings a year. I mean, you get over 200 and you've put in a solid workload season where you're in the upper echelon of pitching. You are a workhorse. Not many guys can get there. So I think they manage guys differently now. They understand that the risk of injury might get turned up a little bit. I mean, look at John Means the last couple seasons before all of a sudden the Tommy John hit. It seemed like every the end of June something would happen, like his arm would fatigue or something would start to fade. And I think they're starting to figure out that these ebbs and flows in seasons and how they can kind of manage that. And it might be micromanaging, but that's where that 6th guy or even a guy in the minor leagues might get opportunities to kind of show what they have for a 2 or 3 week span. But I think they're really going to try to manage that to keep these arms fresh all season long.
That's fair. That's definitely a fair assessment.
I mean, I know I didn't really answer it that very well, but I'm just trying to.
That was a fantastic answer. Because you gave reason as to why it might not potentially work or how they could go around it without stretching everybody out an extra day. Because then you're talking about somebody missing a start in the home stretch of the last 162 or possibly into the early part of the playoffs, and it's all about matchups. And days of rest have everything to do with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think there are different ways to, skin a cat. But I do think that they're cognizant of trying to keep these guys healthy and, giving guys a day here or there. I don't know that, like I said, that there might be these phantom injuries that, tired shoulder or something like that we might see, and a guy might miss a starter or 2.
Hey Mike, do you like how the game sped up? Because I can't get used to this. The game being over at 9:15. It's so weird.
It really is.
Man, are you? I mean, do you like that or?
God, I don't. It's tough, right? Because it feels too fast.
It's baseball. It's not supposed to be fast.
Yeah, I know. I kind of agree there. I've had good days, I guess, and bad days with it because sometimes I'd rather just see a quick game. But I don't know. I'm a traditionalist, I guess, right from the word go. I hated the fact that they took away, you couldn't break up a double play anymore. And in my opinion, that is the essence of baseball right there. If you say a home run is the most valuable thing, a run is the most valuable thing, then you better let a catcher block the plate and you better let a guy fight to try to get through him to score that run. So I don't know why you can't run over a catcher. I don't know why catchers have to be in front of the plate and make these stupid swipe tags anymore.
I know. It's
protecting home. You're protecting home, right? And my gosh, you want to try to break up a double play so that you might have another chance to get a guy in a scoring position. I mean, in my opinion, that's baseball, But so who am I guess, to talk about these rules. Why the hell they have bigger bases is beyond me. It's kind of stupid. It's like all of a sudden somebody said, okay, now it's okay to steal bases, right? Well, when analytics came on, they were so against taking a chance to steal a base because they didn't want you to run into an out because the home run was so valuable, right? So they literally shut down baseball and stealing bases and all situational baseball because they put so much stock into the home run, and they being, the analytics that came in X amount of years ago. So now all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, you can run again. Let's try to make the game a little bit more exciting. Okay, we got the okay. And now guys are stealing. And it has nothing to do with bigger bases or anything like that. It's just that now it seems like it's okay to steal bases and play baseball again. I mean, the Orioles today were playing baseball. They laid 2 sac bunts down. They had 2 sac flies, maybe 3 sacrifice flies. I'm not sure. But they were playing baseball. Cedric Mullins the other day gets a base hit over the shortstop's head, and it's a single. And he hustles it into a double. He was playing baseball the right way you're supposed to play it. And the Orioles have been doing that. I tip my hat to them because that's why I really like watching them right now. They're playing the game. The other night against Chris Sale, they didn't strike out and they made contact. That 42 pitches that they made contact 40 times. They were in there battling and fighting and putting together some good ABs and going the other way, not just selling out and striking out. They didn't even strike out that game. I mean. Let's go.
I love it. It's so nice now that the Orioles are good again. Because I'm at that age, where when you played, I was a kid, but I remember those good years. I remember the kid snatching the ball.
Jeffrey Meyer.
There. Yeah, that was a nightmare. I only got one more question for you, Mike, and you've been awesome. What is your take on the Lamar Jackson saga?
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Do you see him staying in Baltimore? Or do you think that ship has sailed? And as a former pro athlete, do you believe he should have an agent?
Well, wow. Okay. I'm really disappointed that they hadn't signed him.
Yeah.
That was really frustrating to me. And I feel bad that he probably won't come back. It seems like there's such a bad taste in his mouth because they didn't sign him, and it's unfortunate because, he's one of the most exciting players in the game, man. And Baltimore will miss him for sure if he's not, wearing the Ravens uniform. So I'm a big Lamar fan. I wish they would have signed him. But I'm not the one writing the checks, man, for the Ravens. That'd be a big check, man, a big check.
That's going to be a major check.
Have you adopted the Ravens as your team?
Yeah, so when my dad retired from the Air Force, we went to Maine because my mom was from Maine, and Maine was always kind of our transition spot anyway. So Maine was always kind of considered home. And I don't know if you're familiar with Maine, but when you get up into New England, you're kind of forced to be a New England fan. So as a kid, I had the Green Monster in the backyard. I loved the Bruins. I used to go to Bruins games every now and then. Carl Yastrzemski was one of my favorite players. Steve Grogan used to be the quarterback, of course, for the Pats. But then this kid named what was his name? Tom Brady came in. And man, oh man. I was on that Brady train, right? Tom, terrific. But when I came down to Baltimore and the Ravens won the Super Bowl and Ray Lewis and oh my gosh. I'm way more on the side of the Ravens now. And now that Brady's out of New England, I don't even think about the Patriots. So I'm all in for the Ravens. And
that is fantastic to hear. That is absolutely fantastic to hear. I wanted to ask you one more rule question before we let you go, Mike. You talked about the bigger bases. You talked about the speeding up of the game. Then in correlation to that, the pitch clock.
Yeah.
Are you for or against it? Because it seems like there's a lot of mind games that go on in between pitches. And I saw Juan Soto complain about it in the media or on social media, where he said that pretty much his in between each at bat and staring down the pitcher and adjusting his cleats, adjusting his pants, and all that stuff. He says taking the nuanced mind games out of the pitch to pitch process. Are you for or against that whole pitch clock?
Well, I don't think it's a super terrible thing, but I also think that the pitchers have the full advantage. The ability to hold the ball, to stall a hitter if they want. I mean, as soon as the 8 seconds hit, a pitcher could just hold the ball until 1 second. They see the clock, and a hitter's got to be locked in there. And all of a sudden, he calls timeout, and he's only got the one timeout. Now the pitcher's got full advantage of the hitter. So I'm not big on that. I don't know how they could make adjustments with that. I think there should be some common courtesy maybe involved, and maybe give the hitter another timeout. I mean, if he feels rushed, it's just an unfair advantage, and I think you're giving the pitcher too much control of at bats, because hitters got a lot to think about when they step in there, and there's this guy's flipping 95 up. There are situations. I don't know. I do think there need to be some tweaks involved. But I also think there needs to be more of a common courtesy. And I think that's the ultimate goal, is that a little bit more respect for understanding about the rules of the game. But as far as like the showboating and things that sometimes Soto does, like, grabbing his crotch, looking out at the pitcher, staring at the pitcher and things like that, you probably don't need all that stuff. But I'll be danged if a pitcher's going to quick pitch me the second I step in the box and look at him, or a pitcher's going to have the ability to hold the ball without me able to call timeout. I think that kind of stuff's kind of unfair too.
Absolutely. And I know that you mentioned earlier on that your son is, you said he's playing at Boys Latin.
Yeah, I've won at Boys Latin. He's a sophomore at Boys Latin, and my other son's playing up at Frederick Community College. So a couple baseball players. I have 6 kids, and it's the last 2 that play baseball. So I guess there's a good reason why I had 6 kids, right?
Mike, I just missed you when you coached Boys Latin. My wife's cousin played for Boys Latin, and he went on to play for Hopkins in college. But I think it was the year after you left was his freshman year.
Okay. Yeah, I was
you
there
coached him for a few years, right?
Yeah, 2007, 2008. I actually, when I got done playing, I finished my degree. I was like 21 credits short getting my education degree. So I went online. My credits transferred back up to the University of Maine. I marched with the class of 2006. And then I went to Boys Latin because I had a couple kids going to school there. And I asked them if I could teach and coach. And they said, well, we don't have any teaching positions, but you can coach our baseball team if you want. So I ended up coaching 2007. We went to the state game. We lost. 2008, we went to the state game. We won. And then 2009, the Blue Jays asked if I'd be the roving infield instructor. And I said I would because, to be honest with you, I was sick and tired of dealing with parents calling asking why their kid wasn't playing. So I ended up going back into pro ball.
What is it?
Because you turned that program around. It's been a good program ever since.
Well, I don't know that I turned it around. I will say this. I had some great players when I got there. Our shortstop was Austin Knight. He ended up getting drafted by the Orioles. Really good player, could pitch, could play shortstop. Josh Winter was my first baseman. He went and played at the Mount St. Mary's. Devin Gerard was a pitcher, went up to Dartmouth and played. So I had players, man, coming out the wazoo when I got there. And the first year I was there, these 7 stud players were all juniors. So I got to get them back their senior year, and that's when we won the state game. So it wasn't me. I was not a good coach. I've become a better coach, learned more about the game. But I had a lot of great players.
What is it like sitting in the stands now, going back to where you got your first break as a coach? Just being the parent and the spectator.
It's cool. It's kind of gut wrenching. I almost got thrown out of the game today because I screamed on an umpire. I thought it was a bad call. And yeah, I get too nervous. I get too worked up. I want nothing but the best for this team, for my son, and when things don't work out, they lost a heartbreaker today to Gerstel, 8-7 game. And but it's a lot of fun. I cherish these moments, you know what I mean? If anybody has kids, you really got to take them all in and appreciate every day. My oldest now, my daughter's 29. So the kids grow up way too fast. Next thing you know, you got gray hair, you got no hair. I mean, my gosh.
Hey, I'm there, man. So I wanted to ask you, did you ever have a chance to coach against Mount St. Joe? Because that's where I graduated from. The year you started at Boys Latin is the year I graduated.
I don't think we played them. No.
Okay.
I don't think we did. I think they were way better than us.
I don't want to. I'm not going to brag, but yeah, they were a monster.
That's a powerhouse team there. Yeah.
They had Teixeira and Mark Teixeira, Brendan Floyd, and Gavin Floyd were all there within a 10-year time frame, and then Teixeira's got all of our hitting records still.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And if I was coaching, I wouldn't want to play those guys. So, and I certainly didn't put them on my schedule. No way.
So before we let you go, I know that you said that you're going to be working with the baseball warehouse. Can you tell us a little bit about that whole endeavor?
Yeah, baseball warehouse really, it's a cool facility that's expanding. The owner and operator, Matt Morris, his kind of niche is getting former professional players to help coach kids. He's got a great group of players that have had experience collegiately, professionally. Scott Thompson, the former head coach up at Mount St. Mary's, 20 years in D1 baseball, doing coaching, giving lessons. Myself, I love to give lessons. We got a lot of guys, man. Troy Stokes, local legend, went to Calvert Hall. Debuted with the Pirates a few years ago, played with the Tigers a little bit. He helps out with lessons. Calvin Maduro, former Oriole. So it's really good. The kids get the best kind of instruction. We just opened up a new place up in Red Lion, Pennsylvania. So you could fit almost a full-size infield up there, 4 batting cages, a weight room. So it's all about, I think, giving kids the opportunity to learn the game the right way, encourage kids to get out and be active through sport. I think it's super important right now to keep kids active and playing sports as long as they possibly can, because it just builds such a solid foundation for just being a better part of your community.
Absolutely. We want to thank you for coming on the show, Mike. This has been a fantastic interview. Hopefully you can hang around for a minute or two for post show. Let everybody know where they can follow on social media to follow the baseball warehouse and League of Dreams.
Yeah. leagueofdreams.org. You can check out a nonprofit. I am the chairman of the board. Frank Kolarek is the president and founder, and his son is Adam Kolarek, who just recently won a World Series with the Dodgers. So he's in the minor leagues right now, back with the Dodgers, trying to get back up to the big leagues. He's got an incredible major league story, but so much fun to be a part of that family. And of course, the League of Dreams. So yeah, leagueofdreams.org. Alloy Sports, you got to check that out too. We just enhanced our app. Like I said, it's not a place where you can gamble, but it's a place where you can create your own algorithm simply with this wizard app that we have, and it shows you your win percentages. And if you get up to 67, maybe 70% opportunity to win, then you can go down and do your betting if you're into that kind of stuff. It's fun to be a part of it because it's couple local guys created it. They asked if I'd help be a part of it. So it's been fun to see it grow. It's been a couple years now, but it's really looking good. So I encourage everybody to kind of check that out. And of course, the baseballwarehouse.com. Check out our facilities. We've got one in Owings Mills. I think we have actually 3 in Maryland and 1 up in Red Lion. We just got some baseball fields going for the Badgers, which is the team run out of the Baseball Warehouse. So baseballwarehouse.com. And I think I'm not huge on social media, but I think it's Mike Bordick. I don't know. I guess if you look up Mike Bordick, you might be able to find
they'll
it
be able to
Just
do
Google
it.
Mike Bordick. It'll come right up.
Well, thanks for having us on. Thanks for coming on the show, man, and we really appreciate you.
Can I say a couple more quick things?
Not a problem. The floor is yours, man.
So check this out. First of all, I have a website, mikebordick.com, and it's really cool because, I share a bunch of things on there. I share really my story, which I think is helpful to a lot of kids, actually, to see some of the vulnerabilities that could potentially happen and just finding ways to kind of overcome some of the odds that are out there. Because life ain't easy, as you guys know, and sometimes you got to work hard and you got to bust through some things to get to the other side. So my story's on there, but in the end, if schools or anybody would like me to come and speak to their kids, there's an opportunity to maybe sign up for that. Another thing that I'm involved with, it's really cool. On May 13th, there's going to be an event. It's called the Let's Play Ball event, and it's to acknowledge the teachers and administrators from Baltimore County Public Schools. We're going to have a charity softball event with the teachers and administrators over at Carver Center for Arts and Technology on May 13th. I think the gates open at 11 o'clock. We're also going to have a League of Dreams event with the kids from Allied Sports from Baltimore County Public Schools. We're going to have a home run derby. I think Calvin Maduro is going to be there. Larry Bigby is going to be there. I'm going to partake in it. I think Rick Dempsey's going to be there. A couple other celebrities as well. So it's going to be an awesome day. There's going to be music. There's going to be food trucks. Last year was our first season doing it, and it was a great success. We're keeping our fingers crossed for the weather, but I think it would be fun to come out there. Jeremy Kahn, Rob Long, they're going to be out there as well to kind of talk about things, be on the radio. So it's going to be a great day, May 13th at the Carver Center for Arts and Technology.
There you have it, folks. Josh, go ahead and sign us off. Mike, hang around for a minute after we're off air.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're not going to do nothing special tonight. We're just going to shut it down and go to sleep.